The Wicker Man wasn't just another folk horror classic. Behind the pagan rituals and that twisted ending, there's a darker story, one about studio betrayal, a butchered cut, and footage that vanished for decades. What most people don't realize is that the version you've seen, it's not the real movie. The director's vision was carved up, thrown away, and nearly lost forever. These are 12 creepiest facts about The Wicker Man, and hidden in them is the shocking truth that the studio tried to bury the film entirely and almost succeeded. Number 1. The studio hated it so much they literally threw it in the trash. When British Lion executives first screened The Wicker Man in late 1973, they were expecting a campy thriller. What they got was a slow-burn nightmare about religious fanaticism. Reports say the new studio head called it one of the 10 worst films I've ever seen. So what did they do? They cut nearly 15 minutes from the director's 99-minute version, then physically dumped the original negatives under the M3 motorway as landfill during highway construction. Those reels are still buried under asphalt somewhere in England. That's not a metaphor. That's where it gets weird. Number 2. The film was released as a B-movie double feature with Don't Look Now, and buried on the bottom half of the bill. The studio had so little faith in The Wicker Man that they refused to promote it. It opened in December 1973 in a handful of UK theaters, paired with Nicholas Roeg's psychological thriller. But here's the problem. The Wicker Man was listed second. The better film got shoved to the bottom. Most critics didn't even review it. It played for a few weeks, then disappeared. The truth is, British Lion wanted it to fail. And that leads to number 3. Number 3. Christopher Lee called it his best performance and took the role for free. Lee was already famous for playing Dracula, but he was desperate to escape typecasting. When he read the script for The Wicker Man, he knew this was different. Lord Summerisle wasn't a monster. He was a charming, educated cult leader who believed every word he said. Lee waived his entire salary just to be in the film. He later said it was the only role he was truly proud of. But behind that pride was frustration. He spent years begging studios to restore the film, watching his best work rot in obscurity. Here's the scary part. He almost didn't get cast at all. Number 4. The director wanted a different ending, one that was even bleaker. In the final cut, Sergeant Howie burns alive inside the Wicker Man, while the islanders sing around him. Fade to black. But director Robin Hardy originally wanted to show the aftermath, the charred remains of the Wicker Man collapsing, the sun setting, and the islanders walking away in silence, knowing their harvest would still fail. It was meant to suggest that Howie's sacrifice was pointless. The studio cut it because they thought it was too depressing. So why did they cut it? Because they wanted audiences to leave with some hope. What they didn't realize is that the ambiguity made it scarier, because the next part is worse. Number 5. Edward Woodward performed the burning scene for real and nearly passed out. The climax required Woodward to stand inside a massive wooden structure while fire roared around him. The crew used real flames, not special effects. Woodward later described the heat as unbearable, the smoke choking, and the metal cage holding him in place so hot it burned his hands. He could only film for a few minutes at a time before medics pulled him out. Some crew members claimed he vomited from smoke inhalation between takes, but he refused a stunt double. He wanted the terror in Howie's eyes to be real, and it was. Number 6. The island of Summerisle doesn't exist, but the locations do, and one is now abandoned. The film was shot across multiple Scottish locations: the harbour scenes in Plockton, the village square and gatehouse of Fleet, the maypole scene in a field near Dumfries. But the creepiest location was Culzean Castle, used for Lord Summerisle's estate. Today, parts of the castle are open for tours, but the rooms where Lee filmed his scenes are roped off. The guide ropes mark areas with cold spots and unexplained sounds. Locals say the castle has been haunted for centuries. What most people don't realize is that the cast felt it too. Now watch this. Number 7. The infamous nude dance scene almost got the film banned in the US. Britt Ekland plays Willow, the innkeeper's daughter who performs a seductive ritual to tempt Howie. The scene shows her dancing naked, slapping the walls, singing. It's unsettling, not erotic. But the British censors demanded cuts for the original release, and the American distributor threatened to slap it with an X rating. The filmmakers fought back, arguing it was essential to the plot. Howie's Christian resolve is being tested. They won, barely. The scene stayed in. But here's the problem. Ekland later admitted she didn't actually perform the dance. A body double was used for most of the nudity, and the shots were edited together. The truth leaked years later, and fans felt lied to. And this is where it gets weird. Number 8. There's a lost 99-minute director's cut that only exists as a bootleg. Robin Hardy's original vision was 99 minutes long. The studio butchered it down to 87 minutes for the theatrical release, cutting character development, pagan rituals, and atmosphere. For decades, fans assumed that footage was gone forever, buried under the motorway. But in the 1970s, a film technician made an illegal VHS copy of a 99-minute print before it was destroyed. That tape circulated underground for years. In 2013, a restored version was finally released on Blu-ray, pieced together from the bootleg and surviving negatives. But even that version isn't complete. Some scenes are still missing. What were they afraid of? Number 9. The film's budget was so small, they used real villagers as extras, and some refused to come back. The production couldn't afford professional extras, so they hired locals from the Scottish towns where they filmed. Most of them had never been on a movie set. They were told to act like pagan cultists, dance around fires, wear strange masks, and chant. Some villagers found it disturbing. Reports say a few extras refused to return after the first day, claiming the rituals felt too real, too wrong. One woman allegedly told the crew she had nightmares about the Wicker Man burning. The producers dismissed it as superstition, but the cast didn't laugh. Number 10. Christopher Lee claimed the studio sabotaged the film because they were afraid of its message. In interviews before his death in 2015, Lee repeatedly said that British Lion executives didn't just dislike the Wicker Man, they feared it. The film critiques blind faith, religious extremism, and mob mentality. Lee believed the studio saw it as dangerous, especially in the early 1970s when religious and political tensions were high across Europe, so they buried it. They didn't want audiences questioning authority or belief systems. What most people don't realize is that Lee's theory might be true, because the next part is worse. Number 11. The film inspired a 2006 remake that became one of the worst movies ever made. Nicolas Cage starred in Neil LaBute's reimagining, which moved the story to a Pacific Northwest island and turned the pagan cult into a feminist matriarchy. The result? Unintentional comedy. Cage's performance, screaming, "Not the bees," while wearing a bear suit, became a meme. The remake bombed with critics and audiences, earning a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. But here's the scary part. The remake's failure sent new fans back to the 1973 original, and they discovered a masterpiece. The remake, by trying to bury the original's legacy, accidentally resurrected it. Number 12. Robin Hardy believed the film was cursed, and so did some of the crew. Throughout production, strange things happened. Equipment malfunctioned during the Wicker Man burning. Actors reported hearing chanting in empty fields. The weather turned violent without warning, forcing delays. Hardy never called it a curse publicly, but in private interviews, crew members said he became obsessed with the idea that they'd tapped into something real, whether it was folklore, psychology, or coincidence. The production had an energy that lingered, and decades later, when the lost footage was finally restored, editors claimed they heard strange audio in the background of certain scenes. Whispers, singing, sounds that weren't there during filming. They couldn't explain it. The Wicker Man became legendary because it nearly fell apart. The studio tried to kill it, the director fought to save it, and the footage was buried under a highway. But the film survived. It crawled out of obscurity piece by piece, bootleg by bootleg, until it became one of the most influential horror films ever made. The truth is, some movies refuse to die, and some secrets refuse to stay buried. Thanks for watching. Hit like, drop a comment with your favorite fact, and subscribe for more creepy movie secrets.